Hi, this is Matt. This is Mental Model Monday number 12. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite tools for understanding, influencing, and predicting the future. I have a lot of tools that are for that purpose, and this is one of my favorites. A lot of times when people try to understand, predict, analyze the future, what they'll do is they'll look at patterns. Okay, what did that player do, and then how did that person act in response, and is the same pattern going on here, and if so, how is this going to play out? Okay, so they look at our actors, what moves are actors taking, and based on those moves, what does history tell us we should do? So an analogy for what that would be like, and this comes from Simon Wardley, the creator of this tool, is if you were playing chess and you had these 6 buttons. You had like the king button, the queen button, the rook button, the bishop button, the knight button, and the pawn button. And you might develop some rules like, oh, during the beginning of the game, you should press pawn more. And then during the end of the game, you should press queen more. When they do pawn, sometimes it makes sense for you to do pawn. But really, even though you can kind of come up with some rules around that, there's no guarantee that pressing the same buttons in the same order is going to have the same effect unless you have the map, unless you have the actual chessboard here, and you can understand the context in which you're doing those moves, in which you're doing those things. And so that's what this tool is. It's a map. It's a tool to give you that context. And you're mapping two things, two very sort of key critical things on a high level to understand about businesses. The first thing you're mapping is the value chain. So a value chain is everything you need to provide value to the customer. It starts with things that are invisible to the customer on the bottom. So if you're an app, that would be like the power that's powering your servers. If you're a store, that's like the delivery trucks and things like that, or even the fuel that's going in the delivery trucks. And the farther up you get, the more visible to the customer. So the actual app is at the very top. The actual store is at the very top. That's super important concept to understand in business. Another important concept to understand is industry evolution. Products and industries evolve over time. You start out with the sort of new first version of this thing, and no one's built it before. You cobbled it together from ideas and things that you could do, and it's this ugly, clunky thing, but it's new. It's innovative. It's something that's never been done before. And once you make that very first prototype, very first thing, you can start recognizing that other people might want it, and it starts to become custom built. Either internally in companies themselves, they're sort of making these things for themselves because they need it for what they're building, or somebody is making it for them who's an expert in these things. At some point, you start to find enough similarities between these things that you think you can start making products. So the industry now becomes products. People are building the features that everyone needs, and seeing who wins there, and seeing who is actually right about the features that were needed. As these become more and more understood, the products began to become commoditized. They become standardized. They become utilities or commodities that can be used as common plug-and-play tools and other things. So you've seen this with computer memory, where it started with these big giant data centers that custom built, the big thing for this big mainframe computer. Now you've got the cloud. It's a commodity. It's a service. Similarly with screws, you had these custom screws that were made for each individual thing, and then they were productized. Now they're commoditized. Everybody knows there's the same size screws that go in everything. So if you understand this concept of the value chain, and you understand this concept of evolution, what you can do is you can map one against the other. And you get an idea, a broad overview of the context in which you're existing. And so once you do that, you see, how is this going to evolve? Where is this in its evolution cycle? How is it going to evolve? And then you think about, what is it I really want? What is the outcome I want? And you can see how by applying leverage to, for instance, the platform here, or the online photo storage here, you can speed up or slow down its evolution. It's going to affect these other components. The effect will propagate in certain ways depending on the map, and that can get you to where you want to go. And so the moves you use here, whether that's open sourcing or regulating or advertising, they're all context specific. Which part are you trying to affect? Where are you in the evolutionary chain? And what is it you want out of that thing? So, advertising is really, really, it's really does different things at different stages. If you're at the early in the custom built stage, it's educating. It's gonna move it. It's gonna move it to a product as people understand it more. Whereas if you're at the commodity stage, you're just you're vying for position with a few other people. This is the war stage, as Simon Wardley calls it. And understanding the Wardley map for your industry, and then choosing where to apply your leverage, and understanding how that's going to affect the rest of the map. Do I want to slow down evolution? Do I want to speed up evolution? Do I want to get ahead of the evolution? Where do I need to be in 5 years in order to stay on top of the game? All of these things you can only understand once you have the map. This mapping idea of mapping flows through a system against evolution of the system doesn't just apply to business. You could use, for instance, the trends of technical evolution if you're engineering something, and map, for instance, how flexible a piece of your physical system is against its function. Okay, and so that's another way to understand a system. And I think this idea of mapping flows versus evolution is a really powerful way to understand ways to intervene in a system. If you're a systems thinker and you haven't thought about evolution, then you're missing half the equation, because you might have found a bottleneck or force multiplier, but not knowing where it is in the evolutionary thing and where the adjacent components are evolutionarily, you don't know exactly how the system will react when you evolve it. So please use Wardley mapping. It's deceptively simple, incredibly powerful, and if you want to change the future for the better, please use it. If you want to change the future for the worse, you never heard of this. You didn't watch this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you soon.